You're not part of this family anymore. Get out. Tom's words hit me like a fist to the chest. I stood frozen in his dining room. The pot roast I'd just carried in still steaming on the table. My hands gripped the edge of the platter, knuckles white. Around me, everything went silent. Forks stopped moving. Someone's wine glass paused halfway to their lips. Sylvia, Tom's mother-in-law, sat in my usual chair at the head of the table, her thin smile widening. Monica, my daughter-in-law, studied her napkin like it held the secrets of the universe. Lucy, my granddaughter, stared at me with wide, frightened eyes. The heat in the room pressed against my face. I set down the serving fork carefully, my hands shaking now. Please tell me something in the comments section. Where are you watching this story from? And take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel, because every day there's a real story that will shake your heart. My name is Eloise Hart. I'm 88 years old, and my son just erased me from his table. I reached for my coat on the hook by the door, but my fingers fumbled with the fabric. Behind me, someone coughed nervously. The door closed as I pulled my arm free, catching my sleeve for just a moment. The lock clicked. Outside in the November cold, the smell of pot roast followed me like a ghost. I walked down Maple Street holding the empty casserole warmer against my chest. The metal was still warm, but cooling fast in the night air. My cheeks burned with shame more than cold. Anger came later, settling into my bones like old arthritis. Mrs. Patterson's porch light flickered on as I passed her house. I kept my eyes down, watching the sidewalk cracks I'd memorized over 60 years in this neighborhood. My purse bumped against my hip with each step. Inside the zippered pocket, I remembered something I'd tucked away months ago. Tom's promissory note. The one he'd signed 7 years back when I gave him $15,000 for his down payment. Blue ink on cream paper, his signature loose and confident like he had all the time in the world. You're saving our lives, Mom, he'd said that day, pulling me into a tight hug. I stopped under a streetlight and pulled out my phone. My fingers dialed Tom's number from memory. The phone rang once, then went silent. A recorded message I'd never heard. This number is not accepting calls. I tried Monica next. Same thing. Both of them had blocked me. The casserole warmer had gone completely cold in my hands. My phone rang at 7 the next morning. The screen showed unknown number. I almost sent it to voicemail. Grandma. Lucy's voice came through barely above a whisper. It's me. I borrowed Amber's phone. Relief flooded through me. Lucy, sweetheart, are you all right? I'm okay, but Grandma. She paused, and I heard muffled voices in the background. Mom told everyone you got confused last night. She said you left because you weren't feeling well and needed rest. Did you really get confused? The lie burned worse than Tom's words. I gripped the phone tighter. No, honey. I remember everything perfectly. Lucy let out a small breath. I knew it. You never forget anything, Grandma. Ever. Silence stretched between us. Can I come see you? Just to check that you're really okay? Mom and Dad say I shouldn't bother you, but I miss you so much. Tears stung my eyes. You can visit anytime you want. Always. Okay. Grandma? There's something else I need to tell you. Her voice dropped even lower. I heard Mom on the phone with Nana Sylvia this morning. Mom said Nana Sylvia was the one who blocked your calls. On Dad's phone and hers too. To protect the family from unnecessary drama. Tuesday afternoon, I drove back to Tom's house. My coat was still there, hanging in their mudroom where I'd left it Sunday night. I'd been too shocked to remember it when I left. I knocked 3 times on the front door. Monica opened it halfway, not meeting my eyes. She pointed toward the back of the house without a word. Mudroom. Please hurry. No griting. No apology. Nothing. I walked through the kitchen I'd helped them paint last summer, the walls a soft yellow I'd chosen. My welcome to the family wreath lay crumpled in the trash can beside the refrigerator, its dried flowers crushed flat. I picked up my coat from the mudroom hook and turned to leave. Through the kitchen window, I saw Frank Patterson checking his mailbox across the street. Our eyes met. He looked away quickly, then looked back. Something in his expression made me pause. He walked over as I reached my car in the driveway. Mrs. Hart, he said quietly, glancing back at Tom's house. I was taking my trash out Sunday evening. I heard what Tom said to you through the window. His weathered hands twisted his baseball cap. If you ever need somebody to confirm they heard it too, I will. My wife Helen heard it as well. We both did. Something loosened in my chest. Thank you, Frank. That means more than you know. Back home, I hung my coat carefully on my own hook. My hands shook for an hour. I steadied myself by doing normal things. Folding dish towels into neat squares. Sorting recipe cards by category. Watering my African violets on the windowsill. Small tasks to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind like Sylvia wanted everyone to believe. In my desk drawer, buried under old birthday cards and appliance warranties for things I no longer owned, I found a manila folder I'd forgotten about. Inside were bank slips and transfer receipts. Every payment I'd made to Tom over the years, documented carefully. The down payment, $15,000. The emergency car repair when his transmission died, $3,000. Monica's hospital bill when their insurance lapsed, $4,200. The roof replacement after the spring storm damaged half the shingles, $8,000. I'd kept records not because I planned to ask for repayment, but because my mother had taught me to document important financial matters. I pulled out a fresh folder and wrote "Respect" on the tab in capital letters. My spine straightened as I slid all the papers inside. A heavy thud at my front door made me jump. On the porch sat an Amazon box, addressed to me but shipped from Tom's address. Inside, wrapped carelessly in crumpled newspaper, was a jagged piece of my grandmother's blue ceramic mixing bowl. A yellow post-it note stuck to it read, "Accidentally broken. Sorry." Sunday morning, I went to church like always. 60 years of Sundays, and I wasn't about to break the pattern now. During coffee hour in the fellowship hall, Sylvia held court by the dessert table. Her voice carried across the entire room, loud enough that I knew it was intentional. "Poor Eloise has been so overwhelmed lately," she told Mrs. Chun and the Kowalski sisters, shaking her head with fake concern. "We thought it best that she rested at home last week. At her age, things get terribly confusing, you understand." I stood by the coffee urn, pouring cups with perfectly steady hands. My hearing worked just fine. Mrs. Chun glanced over at me with pity in her eyes. I met her gaze directly and smiled, keeping my back straight. Pastor Ruth appeared beside me, her gray eyes kind but serious. "Eloise, I've been hearing several different versions of what happened last Sunday. Would you be open to mediation? Sometimes a neutral space helps families talk." I nodded once. If it might help, yes. Though I'm not the one who needs convincing. Pastor Ruth squeezed my hand gently. "I'll reach out to Tom this week and see if we can arrange something." As I left through the fellowship hall doorway, I heard the Morrison twins whispering behind their church programs. "Did you see her leave in the cold last week?" one said. "No coat or anything. Something's definitely not right." The other replied quietly, "Sylvia says she's getting forgetful. It's so sad." Wednesday morning, I sat across a small wooden table from Mr. Whitaker in his office above the hardware store downtown. He was younger than Tom by a few years, but his eyes held the kind of wisdom that comes from seeing people at their worst. I spread out the promissory note and all the bank slips across his desk. He studied each document carefully, making neat notes in the margins of a legal pad. Mrs. Hart, these documents are completely solid. This promissory note is legally binding. He tapped Tom's signature with his pen. You have several options available. We can request formal mediation, file for immediate repayment, or we can place a lien on the property to secure the debt. The word lien felt heavy in my mouth. What would you recommend in this situation? He leaned back in his creaky office chair, folding his hands. First, I strongly suggest getting a cognitive assessment done. If they're spreading rumors about your mental state, we need documentation to shut that down completely. We can't risk them attempting to pursue guardianship. My stomach went cold. They wouldn't actually do that, would they? People do surprising things when money gets involved, Mr. Whitaker said gently. Let's be proactive and protect you. He pulled out a fresh legal pad. I'll draft a letter requesting full repayment within 60 days. We'll include a clause offering to waive all accumulated interest if they provide a sincere written apology. He looked up at me. Does that approach feel right to you? The senior co-op building stood just 3 blocks from my church, a solid brick structure with big sunny windows and a community garden out back. The building manager, Beatrice, sang in the choir with me. She showed me a 1-bedroom unit on the 2nd floor with afternoon light. The kitchen was small but had a proper oven, not one of those electric things that never heat correctly. We usually have a waiting list, Beatrice explained. But Mrs. Patterson just moved to Florida to be near her daughter. This unit opened up yesterday. I walked through the empty room slowly, my footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. Something about the space felt right. Safe. Meaning. I'll take it. My new neighbor turned out to be Hal, a retired accountant with gentle eyes and a firm handshake. When he saw me struggling with boxes the day I moved in, he offered to help organize my important papers. In a dusty cardboard box marked Old Stuff from Attic, Hal pulled out a thick manila envelope I'd forgotten existed. Mrs. Hart, are these United States savings bonds? He held them up to examine them in the light. They're in your maiden name. I'd completely forgotten about those bonds. My father had bought them for me when I graduated high school in 1954, and said they were for someday important. Hal pulled out his phone and did some calculating, his eyebrows rising higher with each number. These matured decades ago. With all the accumulated interest, Eloise, these are worth approximately $38,000. I sat down hard on my new couch. Mr. Whitaker mailed the formal letter on Thursday morning. By Monday afternoon, I received a phone call from First National Bank. Mrs. Hart? This is Gerald Pruitt, Senior Loan Officer. Your attorney's letter has revealed some information we weren't previously aware of regarding your son's financial obligations. There's an outstanding promissory note that wasn't disclosed on his recent refinance application for the kitchen remodel. He cleared his throat professionally. We've placed an immediate hold on disbursing those funds until this prior debt matter is properly addressed and resolved. I set my tea kettle on the stove to boil. I see. Thank you for letting me know. I wanted to give you a courtesy heads up. These situations can become quite complicated rather quickly. After we hung up, I made chamomile tea and sat by my new window, watching small brown sparrows hop around the community garden. My doorbell rang 20 minutes later, sharp and insistent. Tom stood in the building's hallway, his jaw clenched tight. His eyes looked red and raw, like he hadn't slept. "Tear up that damn letter, Mom," he said, his voice low and hard as stone. "Right now?" I kept my voice level and calm. "No, I won't. You're being completely unreasonable. You told me I'm not part of your family," I interrupted quietly. "Fine. Then I'm simply your creditor now." Doors opened along the hallway. Mr. Yamamoto from 2C. The Sullivan twins from 2A. Silent witnesses watching everything. Tom's face flushed dark red. "You've always been such a burden," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear clearly. Then he seemed to actually hear his own words. He flinched hard. Thursday after school let out, Lucy appeared at my door. Her cheeks were pink from November cold, her backpack hanging heavy on one thin shoulder. She pulled out a thick bundle of index cards tied together with kitchen twine, her hands shaking slightly. "They were in the donation pile for Goodwill," she said, tears filling her brown eyes. "All your recipes, Grandma. Every single one. Mom was going to give them away tomorrow." My heart clenched painfully. My mother's cornbread recipe is written in faded pencil. Grandma Kay's famous apple pie with the secret ingredient. The pot roast recipe that had started this entire nightmare. I took the cards with trembling hands. "Thank you so much, sweetheart. You saved these for me. Want to make cornbread together?" Lucy asked hopefully, wiping her eyes. We mixed the batter side by side, Lucy carefully reading out measurements while I stirred with my old wooden spoon. The oven heated up my small kitchen perfectly. For one peaceful hour, it felt exactly like Sunday used to feel. Like a real family. As the golden cornbread cooled on the counter, Lucy wiped her eyes again with her sleeve. "Grandma, I have to tell you something important. They're planning a yard sale for this Saturday morning." She took a shaky breath. "Your hope chest is on the sale list. The one Grandpa made for you before he died. Mom told Dad you don't have room for it in your new place anymore." My hands went completely still on the knife I was using to cut the cornbread into squares. Did she know? It wasn't a question. Lucy nodded miserably. "I thought you should know before Saturday." After she left with a bag of warm cornbread, I sat at my small table staring at the recipe cards for a very long time. Saturday morning arrived cold and clear. I walked slowly past Tom's house, my coat buttoned tight. Their entire driveway and front lawn were covered with folding tables full of household items for sale. My hope chest sat prominently near the street, a white price tag dangling from its brass handle. $25 for something my husband had built with his own hands. Next to the hope chest sat my grandmother's mixing bowl, the blue ceramic one they'd claimed was accidentally broken. Except it wasn't broken at all. It sat there whole and perfect, its price tag reading exactly $1. Heat flooded my chest. I picked up the bowl carefully, running my fingers slowly along the smooth rim. There, in faded pencil on the inside, was my own handwriting from 30 years ago. For Lucy, when she has a home of her own. I carried the bowl over to Monica, who sat behind a metal cash box, counting change. I placed one crisp dollar bill on the table in front of her without saying a single word. She wouldn't meet my eyes at all. As I turned to walk away, bowl cradled against my chest, Sylvia's sharp voice carried clearly across the lawn to the neighbors browsing the tables. "Just let the old woman collect her trinkets," she announced loudly to anyone listening. "She doesn't have much else left in her life anyway." I kept walking steadily, the bowl held safely against my chest. My hands stayed steady as stone. Behind me, I heard Frank Patterson's firm voice ring out. "That's absolutely shameful. What you people are doing to her. Just shameful." His words warmed me more than the November sun ever could. Tuesday afternoon, my cell phone rang with Sylvia's number. "Eloise, Let's meet for lunch somewhere nice. We need to clear the air between us. Her voice dripped with false honey sweetness. We met at Rosemary's Bistro downtown, the expensive place with actual cloth napkins and menu prices that made my generation nervous. Sylvia ordered the grilled salmon with asparagus. I ordered vegetable soup. She waited patiently until our food arrived before getting down to her real business. I have a reasonable proposal for everyone, she said, dabbing her mouth with the cloth napkin. Tom will pay you half of what you're claiming he owes. Let's say $7,000 cash. But you'll need to sign a simple document saying you won't interfere with any family decisions going forward. Just a basic non-interference agreement to protect everyone. She smiled like she was doing me an enormous favor. At your age, Eloise, people are naturally quite concerned about your decision-making abilities. This legal agreement protects everyone involved, including you. I reached calmly into my purse and pulled out the envelope Mr. Whitaker had given me just yesterday. Inside was my cognitive assessment from the county medical center. Perfect scores across every single category. Sharp as ever, the doctor had written. I slid the papers across the white tablecloth without a word. Sylvia's practiced smile cracked down the middle. She read the assessment twice, her jaw muscles tightening visibly. Then she picked up her cloth napkin and folded it, folding it again and again compulsively until the expensive linen actually tore in her hands. This isn't over, Eloise, she said very quietly. I calmly sipped my soup. Yes, Sylvia. It actually is. Mr. Whitaker helped me establish a comprehensive living trust the following week. The bulk of my estate would be divided between Lucy's education fund and the community kitchen at church, where I'd volunteered faithfully for 30 years. Tom's share was explicitly conditional on his behavior. He would receive his portion only after demonstrating 1 full year of consistent respect and meaningful service. What kind of service specifically? Mr. Whitaker asked, pen poised over the legal documents. Volunteering beside me at the church community kitchen. Every single Sunday for 12 consecutive months. If he completes the full year with genuine effort, he receives his designated share. I sign my name with a steady hand. Otherwise, everything goes to Lucy and the church programs. We placed official copies of the trust documents and my matured savings bonds in the secure safe at the co-op office. Hal witnessed my signature, his expression quietly proud. That same evening, Pastor Ruth called my apartment. Eloise, I've been giving this considerable thought. Would you consider hosting a monthly family gratitude supper at the church? Open to our entire congregation. You've always possessed such a natural gift for bringing people together around a table. I looked around my small apartment. At the rescued recipe cards displayed on my counter. At my grandmother's blue bowl sitting safely on the shelf. At the time I was building back, piece by piece. Yes, I said firmly. I think I would like that very much. For the first time in weeks, something like genuine peace settled deep in my chest. The contractor called Tom early Wednesday morning. I know the exact timing because Monica showed up at my co-op door exactly 2 hours later, her mascara running in black streams down her face. The bank won't release any of the remodel money, she said, her voice shaking with anger and tears. We already tore out all the bathroom tiles. The contractor is demanding his deposit payment immediately. This is completely your fault, Eloise. She jabbed one finger accusingly toward my face. If you'd just been reasonable about everything. Reasonable. I kept my voice deliberately calm. I was reasonable for 7 straight years while you spent money you'd borrowed from me and never paid back. Monica's face crumpled like wet paper. You don't understand anything. We desperately needed that money for emergencies. Sylvia's homeowners association raised their fees dramatically, and she couldn't afford the increase. We helped her out just once, just a few $1,000s to be kind, and then everything snowballed out of control. She stopped abruptly. Her eyes went wide with the realization of what she'd just admitted. You used my loan money to pay Sylvia's bills, I said. It wasn't a question at all. Monica's thick silence was answer enough. I stepped back from my doorway. Then perhaps Sylvia can help you repay me now. Monica opened her mouth, closed it, then turned and ran down the hallway. Her sobs echoed loudly in the stairwell. I closed my door gently. My hands weren't shaking anymore. They hadn't shaken in days. I felt clear-headed, focused, like I'd finally woken up from a long, foggy dream that had lasted years. Sunday morning, I arrived at the church community kitchen extra early. Lucy met me at the side door, her face bright with genuine excitement. We'd planned this first family gratitude supper together over whispered phone calls, like happy conspirators. We made beef stew using the recipe my mother had relied on during the Depression years. Cheap ingredients, filling portions, and made with real love. By 11 o'clock, people started arriving in steady streams. Frank Patterson and his wife Helen brought 2 homemade apple pies. The Morrison twins carried a large wicker basket overflowing with fresh rolls. Even Mrs. Chun came, pressing a warm container of her special dumplings into my hands with an apologetic smile. The room filled quickly with voices and genuine laughter. I stood at the big stove, stirring the pot slowly, and felt something I thought Tom had permanently taken from me. True belonging. Pastor Ruth tapped a spoon against her water glass for attention. Before we eat this wonderful meal, I want to thank Eloise for organizing our very first family gratitude supper. Real family isn't just about blood relations. It's about the people who actually show up when it matters. People clapped warmly. Lucy hugged my waist tight. I glanced at the empty chair I'd deliberately placed at the head table. On it sat a place card I'd written in my very best handwriting. Respect reserved. That chair would remain empty until someone truly earned the right to sit there. I was completely done giving my respect away for free. Monday morning at the grocery store, Frank Patterson found me carefully selecting canned goods in aisle 3. He carried a sealed white envelope in his weathered hands. Mrs. Hart, I talked extensively with my wife Helen last night. We both strongly agree you might need this for your situation. He handed me the envelope. Inside was a typed statement, 2 full pages long, properly dated and signed by both Frank and Helen Patterson. It detailed everything they'd witnessed and heard that terrible Sunday night. Tom's exact words spoken in his dining room. Sylvia coached him beforehand in the driveway, clearly visible through their front window. Monica's deliberate silence during the whole incident. My dignified exit into the cold without even my coat. At the bottom, Frank had added in his own handwriting, Mrs. Hart has always been of completely sound mind and remarkably generous spirit. What happened that night was elder abuse, plain and simple. We will testify to this in any venue necessary. My eyes burned with grateful tears. Frank, I honestly don't know what to say to you. Don't say anything at all. Just use it if you need it for your case. He tipped his baseball cap politely and walked away down the aisle. I drove straight to Mr. Whitaker's office. He read the statement twice very carefully, then added it to my growing file. This is extremely powerful testimony, Eloise. Especially the part about Sylvia coaching Tom beforehand in the driveway. That shows premeditation. He looked up at me. Pastor Ruth called me yesterday. The church mediation is officially set for next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Are you ready for this? I thought about that empty chair with its reserved sign. About respect. About truth finally having credible witnesses. Yes, I said clearly. I'm ready. Tuesday at 4 o'clock, we all gathered in Pastor Ruth's comfortable office. Me, Tom, Monica, Sylvia, and 2 church elders I'd known and respected for years. I sat straight in my chair, my hands folded calmly in my lap. Pastor Ruth opened with a brief prayer for wisdom, then turned directly to me. Eloise, in your view, what would genuine healing look like for your family? I'd practiced this answer for days. 3 specific things. First, a public apology delivered in the exact same place Tom said those words, his dining room, with witnesses present. Second, my hope chest returned to me undamaged. Third, a written repayment plan that follows the court's established guidelines. Mr. Kowalski, one of the elders, nodded slowly. These requests seem entirely reasonable to me. Sylvia leaned forward sharply. She's asking far too much. Tom was under enormous stress that night. He didn't actually mean. I meant exactly what I said. Tom interrupted quietly but clearly. Everyone in the room turned to stare at him. He kept his eyes fixed on his own hands. I said those words. I can't take them back now. Monica shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Then, so quietly I almost missed it, she muttered under her breath, "She'll be dead before it's all paid off anyway." The entire room went absolutely still. Pastor Ruth's kind face hardened like stone. Mr. Kowalski stood up abruptly. "This mediation meeting is over immediately. Mrs. Hart, I sincerely apologize that you had to hear that comment." We filed out in heavy silence. Tom tried to catch my arm in the parking lot. I kept walking to my car without stopping. Mr. Whitaker filed the formal legal paperwork Thursday morning. By Friday afternoon, a professional process server located Tom at the neighborhood watch meeting at the community center. He handed Tom the legal documents in front of approximately 30 neighbors. I wasn't there to witness it, but Frank called me that evening. You should have seen Tom's face, Eloise. He went white as fresh paper. I didn't feel victorious or triumphant, just deeply tired, and strangely, genuinely peaceful. That evening, I walked slowly through the co-op gardens as the sun set, breathing in the last chrysanthemums of the season. My phone buzzed with an incoming text. Tom's number. I hadn't blocked him yet. The message read, "You're ruining us." I typed back slowly with steady fingers. "You ruined this yourself." I pressed send, then immediately blocked his number. I didn't need his anger living in my pocket anymore. Inside my warm apartment, Hal had left a plate of homemade chocolate chip cookies on my doorstep with a simple note. "Proud of you." I made hot tea and sat by my window, watching stars emerge over the community garden. For the first time since that terrible Sunday dinner, I felt like I could breathe all the way down to my toes. Tomorrow I will wake up and keep living my life. That was enough. More than enough. It was absolutely everything. Tom called the co-op office Monday morning, asking them to relay a message to me. Would I meet him at Riverside Park? Beatrice relayed the request with worried eyes. "You absolutely don't have to go, Eloise." "I know I don't have to," I said. "But I will anyway." He sat on our old wooden bench, the same one where I used to bring him as a small boy to feed the ducks. He looked smaller somehow. Older than his years. "I'm sorry," he said, eyes focused on the brown grass. "For what I said. For all of it." The words came out flat. Rehearsed. Empty. "Tell me where you said it," I said quietly but firmly. He looked up, genuinely confused. "What do you mean?" "You said those words in your dining room. In front of your wife, your children, your mother-in-law. That's where it needs to be unsaid." I kept my voice gentle but absolutely firm. That's the place where the apology needs to happen. Tom's jaw muscles worked visibly. Sylvia will never allow me to do that. She'll say I'm betraying her trust completely. She'll make Monica's life absolutely hell. Then you have a choice to make, I said simply. I stood slowly, my knees creaking only slightly. This is between you and your signature on that promissory note, and between you and your own conscience. I walked back to my car, leaving him alone on the bench. In my rearview mirror, I watched him put his head in his hands. I didn't look back again. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected, bright and clean, with afternoon sunlight streaming through high windows. The judge, a woman about Monica's age with sharp, intelligent eyes, carefully reviewed all my documents. Mr. Whitaker had organized everything perfectly in a blue folder. The promissory note, bank transfer slips, Frank's written statement, my cognitive assessment results. Tom sat beside a lawyer he'd hired from somewhere, a nervous young man who kept adjusting his tie repeatedly. The judge read silently for 10 full minutes. Then she looked up. Mr. Hart, this promissory note is legally binding. These bank records support every single claim made. Do you dispute that you signed this document? No, Your Honor, Tom said very quietly. And do you dispute that you received these funds from your mother? No, Your Honor. She nodded once. Then I'm ordering structured repayment under the following specific terms. She outlined a detailed monthly payment plan and placed a formal lien on the house to secure the debt. Furthermore, she added, her voice cooling noticeably, I'm noting in the official record my serious concern about possible elder emotional abuse. Mrs. Hart, if you experience any form of retaliation or harassment, contact this court immediately. Outside on the courthouse steps, Sylvia waited like a predator. As I walked past, she leaned in very close. You'll regret this decision, she whispered into my ear. I stopped and met her eyes directly. I already did regret something, Sylvia. That's exactly why I'm wide awake now. I spent Wednesday evening carefully handwriting invitations to the next family gratitude supper. Tom and Monica, Sylvia, Frank and Helen Patterson, Pastor Ruth, the church elders, even Gerald Pruitt from First National Bank. At the bottom of every card, I wrote in my best script, come as you are. Leave fed and heard. Gerald Pruitt called me Thursday morning. Mrs. Hart, I received your kind invitation. I would be genuinely honored to attend. And I'm bringing a donation to the community kitchen, made in your name, for the dignified way you've handled this difficult situation. I had to sit down in my chair. That's extraordinarily kind of you, Gerald. It's well-deserved, ma'am. His voice was warm. Not many people your age would stand up for themselves like this. You're teaching my own elderly mother an important lesson about self-respect. After we hung up, I pulled out that place card again. Respect, reserved. I placed it carefully in a simple frame on my kitchen counter, where I could see it every single morning. The empty chair at the next supper would carry the same card prominently. Someone would have to genuinely earn the right to sit there. I wouldn't just hand my respect over anymore. Not to anyone. Not even to my own son. Not unless he proved he truly understood what he'd thrown away. The community kitchen filled up remarkably fast. By noon, every single table was completely occupied. The pot roast I'd made, the exact same recipe from that terrible Sunday, smelled like redemption itself. Before anyone touched their food, I stood at the front table. My hands didn't shake at all. I read from my personal diary, just the simple facts. The date, the dinner preparation, the exact words spoken, the door closing behind me. When I finished reading, you're not part of this family anymore. Get out. I set down the page carefully. The room was completely silent. I picked up the framed place card slowly. This card says respect reserved. I'm reserving my respect now, not giving it away freely anymore to people who don't value it. I paused, looking around the room. I've established a living trust. Most of my estate will go to Lucy's education, and to this community kitchen. Tom's share is conditional on 1 year of service here, working beside me every Sunday. And a real apology was delivered in the place where he broke what we had. I sat down carefully. Tom stood suddenly, his chair scraping loudly. Mom, his voice cracked badly. I'm so sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. You deserved so much better than what I gave you. You deserved everything, and I threw it away like garbage. Sylvia lunged forward aggressively, reaching for the microphone on the serving table. Pastor Ruth stepped smoothly into her path and calmly took the microphone first, setting it down gently out of Sylvia's reach. I think we've heard quite enough for today, Pastor Ruth said quietly but firmly. After the supper ended and most people filed out, Tom stayed behind. He approached me slowly, cautiously, like I might disappear if he moved too fast. Tell me the terms, he said. Tell me exactly how to fix this. I looked at him for a long moment. My son. My only child. The boy I'd rocked through nightmares and cheered through Little League games. 6 months of Sundays, I said clearly. Serving beside me in this kitchen. On-time payments following the court order exactly. And 1 dinner at your house where you apologized publicly, in front of your family. Monica appeared behind him suddenly, her face hard as stone. That's completely insane. We're not doing public humiliation for your entertainment. She grabbed Sylvia's arm roughly. Come on. Let's go right now. They left together, their high heels clicking sharply on the tile floor. Tom didn't follow them. He looked at Pastor Ruth. Do you have an extra apron I could use? She handed him one, faded blue and worn soft. He tied it carefully around his waist and turned to the oldest person in the room, Mrs. Yamaguchi, who'd recently turned 93. Ma'am, may I have the honor of serving you first? He asked respectfully. She nodded, her eyes twinkling. As we worked side by side, mopping floors and storing leftovers in containers, Tom spoke quietly. If I do this, really do this right, will you eat at my table again? I didn't answer immediately. I wiped down the counter thoroughly. Ask me again in 6 months. 6 months passed like seasons turning naturally. Tom showed up every single Sunday. At first his movements were stiff, clearly resentful. By February, they softened noticeably. By April, he started arriving early to help me prepare vegetables. He never missed a single payment. The checks arrived on the 15th of each month, exactly on time. I noticed Sylvia stopped attending church completely. Monica showed up occasionally, sitting in the very back pew, leaving quickly before coffee hour started. But Tom kept coming faithfully. In late May, he invited me to dinner. Lucy opened the door, her smile bright as summer sunshine. The dining room table was set carefully with the good dishes. Tom pulled out my old chair, and waited respectfully for me to sit. Before we ate, he stood up. Monica and Lucy went completely quiet. Mom, he said, looking directly at me. I'm sorry. I said something absolutely unforgivable to you. I treated you like you were nothing when you'd given me everything I had. I was cruel and selfish and wrong. And I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm asking for it anyway. His voice shook. You are family. You'll always be family. And I threw that away like it meant nothing. Lucy started crying quietly. Even Monica's eyes were red-rimmed. I stood and walked around the table. Tom flinched slightly, like he thought I might slap him. Instead, I took his hand in both of mine. "I forgive you," I said. "Now sit down. Let's eat together as a family." The lien would stay on the house until every penny was paid. The trust would stand exactly as written. But that night, for the first time in 7 long months, I ate pot roast at my son's table. And it tasted like Sunday again. The following Tuesday, Tom appeared at my co-op door carrying a covered dish. The smell drifting from under the foil made my mouth water instantly. "I made pot roast," he said shyly. "Used your recipe exactly. Probably not as good as yours, but I tried my best." I opened the door wider. "Kumain." He stepped into my small apartment, looking around carefully at the life I'd built without him. The recipe cards displayed on my counter. Grandmother's blue bowl safe on the shelf. The framed place card. "Respect, reserved." "That card," he said softly, pointing. "I want to earn the right to take it down someday. If you'll let me." I poured us both coffee in my good cups. We sat at my little table, and I served his pot roast onto my plates. It was slightly dry and burnt at the edges. It was absolutely perfect. "The trust still stands," I said clearly. "The lean-to. Those don't change." "I understand completely." He nodded firmly. "They shouldn't change. I have to prove myself over time. And even then." He paused. "Even then you don't owe me anything." "No," I agreed. "I don't." We ate in comfortable silence. Outside my window, the co-op garden was blooming with roses and black-eyed Susans. New life growing from old roots. When Tom stood to leave, he hugged me carefully, gently. "Same time next Sunday?" he asked. "At the kitchen?" "Same time," I confirmed. After he left, I washed the dishes slowly and sat by my window with fresh tea. The evening light turned everything golden. I thought about that terrible Sunday, about the words that had shattered me completely, about the long walk home in the cold. Justice wasn't loud or dramatic. It wasn't quick or easy. It was this: a clean apartment in my name, respect I no longer gave away freely, and a son who finally understood what he'd lost. The pot roast had come full circle, and so had I.